Good morning, and thank you for joining us for today's Business Support Series webinar, episode 17, Reinventing to Stay Essential. I'm Mike Neal, President and CEO of the Tulsa Regional Chamber. It's my privilege to host this webinar again. Our Chamber's Business Support Series offers insights on how your organization can effectively respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. There's an area where the Chamber or our staff or I can be of assistance to you in any form or fashion, please let us know. Today's discussion is about how companies and employees can constantly reinvent themselves to stay essential and relevant during the economic downturn. Before we discuss the topic in more detail with our speakers from two outstanding Chamber member companies, I'd like to thank our sponsors of our Business Support Series. You see them listed at the bottom of your screen. Luxa Enterprises, Matrix Force, Security Bank, and Stennett. And speaking of Luxa Enterprises, we're pleased to have with us my good friend, Frauke Peterson, Luxa Enterprises CEO and Managing Partner, who will introduce today's speakers. Frauke.
Thank you, Mike. It's such an honor to join everyone today and introduce our wonderful speakers. Jennifer Overmeyer is the Quality and Training Manager at Aon, a world leader in creating comfortable and healthy indoor environments through the manufacture of premium HVAC. Jennifer's responsibilities include running a diverse team of quality engineers, specialists, and technical trainers dedicated to driving continuous improvement and a quality culture in the production facility. She has more than 13 years of experience in the HVAC industry, covering a wide variety of skills, including mechanical drafting, mechanical design, piping design, production support, and quality. Rachel Hutchings is the Executive Director of Workforce Tulsa. Her background in workforce development includes various roles on the Workforce Tulsa Board, the Governor's Council of Workforce and Economic Development, and the former chair of the Oklahoma Employment Security Commission. Prior to Workforce Tulsa, Rachel was the Director of Development for the Tulsa Community College Foundation after a 20-year career with American Airlines. Thank you both for joining us today. Rachel, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Frauke, and thank you for having us today, Mike and Chamber team. I wanted to talk a little bit about Workforce Tulsa and our services. Workforce Tulsa is a federally funded organization, so all of our services are free to the public and to employers. So we do quite a few things. We work with adult populations and then youth populations, but today I wanted to talk in particular about our business services and what we do there. We have several wage subsidy programs that help companies offset wages for folks that are in training on the job or internships. And those are really useful to the employers. We could pay up to anywhere from 6 weeks to 6 months of wages. And we find that's valuable because we could put a potential employee into your place of work, help offset the wages while they're really learning about your business, learning your way of doing business, and learning something that could also be put on a resume if there isn't an opportunity with your business. So it's almost twofold, right? It's a great service for the job seeker and also a great service for the employer. We've been learning a lot about how to work in new and different ways and talking a lot about transferable skills. So as folks are going along and maybe they were in food service or if they were in an area or a sector that maybe wasn't a great fit for them, but they were going along, this is a great opportunity for them to upskill. So we have some opportunities for them to upskill in different ways, really learn how to use those skills that are transferable that they haven't thought of before. If you were in food service, you've learned about customer service, working in high stress situations, teamwork. Those are all really valuable skills with a lot of different kinds of companies and organizations. So getting folks to think about how they work in different ways and how that can fit with different sectors that they hadn't considered before. we're also working in new and different ways with our partners. We're talking about some mobile setups, Goodwill, and our training partners are going online with so many of their trainings and their services. And then also the credentials that are becoming more and more important. So project management, IT certification, things of that nature. We've all maybe struggled a little bit lately with our IT service or our knowledge there. And so we're learning to deal with those things almost on the fly. So really considering different companies that value that kind of skill set. You know, we're learning flexibility just like everyone else is. And we're finding that, you know, we're trying to have those conversations with employers to see what's coming down the pike. Things are changing for all of us. And so what are the valuable skills? What are the new kinds of trainings? And how can we really structure those wage subsidy programs to best serve our employer community? Did I have more time to talk?
Yeah, Rachel, you done?
Yes.
Jennifer, let's go to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will jump in. I've been lucky enough to work with Rachel for the last 2 years on the board of Workforce Tulsa. Any of you that haven't worked with them previously, definitely reach out, look at the website. There are so many ways that you can partner with them that Rachel would still be here next Thursday if she had to go over all of them.
Right.
So take 5 minutes, you will find out so many ways they can help you that she hasn't had a chance to cover. Just to give you a couple ways that Ann's worked with them, we've had different job fairs with them. We had a very extensive internship program, and we've also worked with some of their partners on gearing training towards what we really needed. So keying it into more of what we needed, kind of fine tuning it to our employees. So great resource, definitely work with them. Ann's been uniquely positioned during this during the COVID because we are considered an essential business. So we've actually had overtime versus a slowdown. So definitely different than a lot of what you're seeing. We've provided quite a few units to the Northeast for the pop-up hospitals, for labs out there, and then for standalone hospitals. So definitely reacting differently than a lot of what you've seen. And again, uniquely positioned, just a lot of it's based on our culture. We've always been very versatile, never pigeonholing, never living by silo. And that's put us in a position where we can react very quickly. I think part of that is being people focused versus looking for a software or hardware solution. There's not a program out there that's going to get any of us through this. But looking at your employees that you have, and not just looking at a resume, but looking at those skills that you can't teach someone. You can teach someone Excel, you can teach them different word programs. You're not going to teach them the personality. You're not going to teach them the work ethic that you need. So we do a lot of our hiring within. We identify that candidate that has the personality, that has the skill sets that we need, and then we build them up. So taking someone that's an excellent manager, it's really easy in a leadership position to say, you're a great manager, you're doing awesome. I'm going to leave you there because it's easy. We challenge our employees and we put them outside of their comfort zone by moving them into a challenged area. So taking a great leader, moving them into a department that needs that support, that needs somebody with that experience, and having them start again. So we are so used to working outside of the box that I don't know that many people here even realize there's still a box out there that we would have the option of working within, because we're so used to working with those challenges, to constantly diversifying. So we have employees that start at the ground level with entry-level positions that are now in management, which really gives us a very solid pulse on where the company is, because they've been there, they've worked in those positions, and they're really diverse knowledge of everything that Aon has, how all of our processes work, as well as those relationships that you build up. So don't take your current employees for granted, and look at ways that you can actually utilize those employees that you've already vetted. You know they don't have the attendance issues, you know they don't have personality conflicts, and maybe ignore the paper and look at what you can build up, what their skill sets are that you haven't looked at previously. And don't just look next month, next year. You're going to be around in 5 years, you're going to be around in 10 years. So look at those new kids you've just brought in and where they could be in 10 years. And that's something our senior leadership has really focused on and really excelled at. I've seen people myself, I think I'm on my 8th or 9th position here, and most of my peers have moved between departments and had that outside of their comfort zone. I've excelled here, great. You're not going to get any dust on you. We're moving you somewhere else. We're going to put you in a new position and challenge you. So adapting to this uncomfortable situation, most of the people didn't even know we're supposed to be uncomfortable because we're so used to that they just took it and ran with it. And it's amazing to see. Another way, keeping those employees you've got. So employee retention, giving them benefits, employee appreciation. We've started doing raffles just to remind our employees that we're glad they're here, we appreciate them, and we're glad to have them on the team. Also looking outside when you're looking for new employees, don't just go on the same avenue. We can't be looking in newspapers to find a new employee. Everything's changed. So we pull from Justice Involved. We work with Women in Recovery. We work with the YWCA, with immigrants, just a lot of populations that you might have never thought of before, but it gives you such a diverse background because we don't need 90 cookie cutter employees with no flexibility. You've locked yourself into one area then, but getting different backgrounds, people that have had different challenges in their life are really ready to adapt to what we're facing today. So that's something that's really helped us move forward. And then just on-site training. We invest in our employees and we grow them on site. So finding that personality and then offering ESL classes. We offer 608 refrigeration classes. We've really built up a training network that once we identify someone, we support them and give them the skills they need to succeed. And just reaching out to the resources that are out there, like Rachel, like her other partners that we have locally, and making use of all these resources that you might never have thought of. We've never been through this before, so obviously none of us are gonna make it through with our old thinking, and what worked in January is not gonna work in August. So just being ready to adapt and getting comfortable with it. And don't be scared to push it and make a mistake, because none of us are gonna make it through this if we aren't willing to challenge ourselves and go out on the limb and try something new and rethink our old ways. So really just take a chance, reach out to some of these resources and really look at what you have as a team that you might not have realized some of the skills you have, and just keep a pulse on your company. We see senior leadership out on the production floor daily. So it's not just having a pulse on the numbers and how the company is doing financially, they know how the people are. It's not uncommon for the president of the company to do a stop and chat. And that's something that you don't see these days in a lot of companies where you've got that division. But I think that gives them the ability to really adapt before they need to. They've got such a good pulse on the company that they're ready 2 months before anybody else knows something's happening. That's really all I've got.
Jennifer Overmeyer, Rachel Hutchings, thank you both. You ladies did a superb job of really setting the stage, really giving some great examples as to what's really working effectively in both of your corporate environments. So thank you. We don't have time for live questions on this webinar, but we have several questions that have been submitted in advance that we will cover. I'll cover a few with Rachel and Jennifer, and then Frauke will cover the final one with them in the next 15 minutes. And we'll lead off with one of the positive outcomes we've seen from this pandemic has been really one of the things, Jennifer, you just touched on, and that's really is innovation in the workplace. I'm kind of an old school guy, and I think you've always got to do all this stuff, but the technology, people working remotely, and all the various technologies that we've seen. So my question really is, how can managers encourage innovation once we begin to return to maybe some sense or some state of normalcy?
I would definitely say pulling from a diverse group. So not just involving a certain group in decision making, but pull some younger, some more experienced, really get that brainstorming going, get the juices flowing, and get people in meetings where they can bounce ideas off of each other rather than just leaving it to one group to always make those decisions. And then, like I touched on, looking at people, not a resume, identifying skills that someone has that they might not have in their current, might not be using in their current position, but pulling them to a project outside of what their job title is. We're not in a position where we can only work to our job title. You need to pull people in different directions and really branch between the silos of your different departments and have them ready to work as a group and not just on their own little island.
That's an excellent point. Rachel, I think you're muted now. Well, let's go to you, Rachel. You're now
Well,
unmuted.
I think much like Jen, you know, just thinking of the different ways that we do things. So we're seeing an older population re-engage with technology that we probably wouldn't have seen before. We're delivering services in a different way. So lots of over the phone, lots of meetings like this. I think we all have read those articles about Zoom fatigue, right? Instead of face-to-face meetings, but I can tell you that I spend a lot less time in my car and a lot more time working. So actually the way that I've worked for the last probably 15 years has changed dramatically. So my car is wondering where I am, but I think it is going to change the way, it is changing the way that we think about work, and those traditionally face-to-face, be at your desk at a specified place to be productive is not the norm for us for quite some time. We're finding in ourselves that we're more productive than we thought we could be in different ways.
Excellent point. Thank you. Thank you both. Do you ladies have some specific examples of how Aon and Workforce Tulsa have worked together on employee training programs? Because I know you guys are closely connected, but some specific examples of things you've done together.
We just unfortunately had to cut a really great work internship program that we had short because of COVID. But we had interns that were in a work experience program where they would come part of the day and work in Aon. And we had them in engineering, in quality, in manufacturing, in HR, in IT. Almost every department found an intern that fit with them and that they could use. And it was the best program we've had in a while because these are young kids that are energetic and so excited about it. And possibly looking at a job here, looking at a job elsewhere, just getting the experience. But we found so many ways to utilize their talent. I had some of these high school students working on our training programs because it's been a minute since I was in school, whereas these kids are spending most of their day in it. So they've really got an idea of what engages them and what they're falling asleep during. So they were working with some of my trainers to upgrade our programs to keep the information more relevant and to keep the people awake during a 4-hour training. So that was an awesome way to use them. We've also had just your basic data entry. Some of them were in marketing, developing some of our new marketing information. So it's a great way to help the community out by giving these kids some experience and also to help your company out by filling some of those gaps that you might not need a full-time employee for, but you definitely need help with. So it was an amazing program and we're ramping it back up now that they've been released.
That's wonderful. I'd say, Jennifer, that's one of the things I think that Aon has really been a thought leader in this region, in the Tulsa region, in the state, for how you connect to high school students and engage students in this training program. We all know how valuable and essential these programs are. So hats off to you and your team at Aon for your work in that space, and certainly your collaboration with Rachel and her team. So Rachel, let's go to you.
Yeah, so we are doing programs like that. We're looking forward to restarting. We had stopped that because technically those students were in school, and now that some of them have technically graduated, now we can put them back to work. So that's really exciting to see. And we do those kinds of projects across the board. So working with BizJet on registered apprenticeship, working with Melton Truck Lines on some incumbent worker training and getting some truck drivers over there to them. One of the other areas that I didn't discuss was our incumbent worker training program, so we can help people that are already employed, upskill them. So in the case of what Jennifer and Aon are looking at, if you see another direction that you'd like to send an employee to, we can help train them. So offsetting that, we're seeing we normally see during times like this cuts in, professional development, the budget line item for that, or even worse, tuition reimbursement. And so we want to be able to help with that when those companies are facing those challenges. And so the real world examples are out there, just with those few companies that I mentioned.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Jennifer. As we begin to emerge, and I'll say slowly emerge and transition into a recovery and get out of this COVID pandemic crisis, what new opportunities for workforce training do you ladies envision in the future, be it this year, next year, in the coming years?
I think blended learning is more becoming more and more important. It's really hard for a Tulsa Community College to pack in 25,000 students like they used to, and so we do see that blended learning becoming an option. Also, a little bit excited about the concept that someone could access the middle class just by having access to broadband. New ways of entrepreneurship and how to get your products out the door. That marketing piece that Jen talked about with the students, I think that's going to be more and more important, is the ability to market your products and also pivot, which is a word that's been used a lot lately, pivot your business so your sector can be broadened, especially for manufacturing. So really excited about those programs coming out of Commerce to really, further that kind of pivot in your business practices. And so we've offered to help some businesses if they bought a new piece of equipment to help train an employee to how to fully use that piece of equipment. A lot of times a manufacturer will buy a piece of equipment for one specific purpose, but that equipment will do so much more. And so really helping them realize that we can help them. We have funding to help them train those current employees to use those in new and different ways. So many opportunities coming down the pike for people to have access to higher ed and certifications that didn't necessarily feel that they had before.
Thank you, Rachel. Jennifer.
I think just the comfort level with technology was forcibly changed by all this. So we had a generation that might not have thought you could do things virtually, that might not have been comfortable with that. And over the last 2 months, they haven't had a choice. So everybody has learned just how much you can do virtually. And I think that's really going to change a lot of the training going forward, which is helpful for people that have a transportation issue, that have job timelines that they can't necessarily make it to school as quickly, being able to access a virtual option or being able to split the time between a in-face encounter and some type of a virtual training. And I think that's really going to change the whole dynamic of what we have going forward. And I think in the next few months, we're going to be looking at other trainings. So if you're looking at the website and something doesn't fit with Workforce Tulsa, you don't see exactly what it is, definitely reach out, because as I said, so much information that they couldn't possibly put on the website and so many services that you couldn't scroll through them all. So definitely take that time to ask the question, reach out to somebody with Workforce and find out what they can offer.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer.
Sure.
We got 30 seconds. One final question to you before I go to Frauke, and that is, I know that Workforce Tulsa has probably experienced a ginormous increase in job seekers over these last 6, 7, 8 weeks. How are you handling that influx, and is there anything any business can do to be of support to you guys? Rachel, I think you're muted. Rachel, are you frozen? If not, let's go to Frauke for our, we have time for one final question. And Frauke, we'll go to you for that final question. Thank you, Frauke.
Sure. Well, and hopefully Rachel will unfreeze in a moment because the question's probably more targeted towards her. But Jennifer might have some insight too, based on her workings with Workforce Tulsa. So, as businesses begin to open again and the need for hiring starts, what kind of support would we see Workforce Tulsa being able to offer?
So I think I'm going to be Rachel for a minute because I think we lost.
Sure.
So there are a ton of resources for job seekers at the Tulsa Job Centers. Right now, they're doing a lot of it virtually just to have social distancing, but information gathering on their website is great too, because a lot of the resources out there and a lot of the information that we're getting from state and federal level, it's a little bit hard to dig through. So they've got some pinpointed links, some broken down, easier to digest information out there. That's a great resource because I'm sure a lot of people get frustrated digging through the different places to get just the one nugget of information they need. So actually having one key center, which would be Workforce and the job centers, that you can access and get that information from is a great resource. Definitely something you want to utilize. And then the retraining, the resume help, working with different populations, be it veteran, be it a justice involved, and bringing those people back into the workforce. So just a lot of great resources that she can offer you.
Jennifer, is there anything else from the Aon as we've bragged on Aon for you guys do in connecting with schools, connecting with the potential workforce, as you have prospective employees, or as you envision that there could be prospective employees, what tips or guidance would you have for them if they were interested in trying to get a foot in the door at Aon to begin a career there?
I've told many people over the years, look at the company as a whole and the company that you're working with versus the position you're applying for. I don't have many employees that I've hired that are still in the same positions. Most of them get snagged very quickly and moved to other positions, which is great. So especially with young people coming straight out of college, somebody getting an entry-level position, there were ones I had to fight to keep for 6 months because the other managers start looking at them sideways. But that's just the culture we have, that as soon as you recognize the potential in someone, it's like sharks in the water. They're all trying to grab them, which is amazing because it could be an employee that didn't have the resume skills to get that job to begin with, but they start with that entry level, they prove themselves, and you put them in front of the departments, in front of the areas where you think they would belong. And we've also got a really good culture of sharing. There's at no point where you just keep that good employee to the default or to the negative impact of another department. We're all very willing to share and backfill those positions because we know it grows the company as a whole. So I think that's definitely a different cultural mindset.
Thank you, Jennifer. Rachel, we got 1 minute remaining. Know you got frozen there, but tell us quickly as to, as you guys, companies begin to rehire, what can, in 30, 45 seconds, what can Workforce Tulsa do to help them? Jennifer helped you, did a great job there.
Thank you.
Final thoughts from you, Rachel.
Yeah. So let us know you're hiring. Let us know you're hiring. Let us know what you're looking for an employee. We can do direct hire as well. So just let us know what you value in training and background. We're talking to our job seeking clients a lot about what they can do to better market themselves. Just let us know. Our phone number, 918-796-1200 and workforcetulsa.com are the two easiest ways, but you know how to reach me, so we can get that information out.
Great. Rachel, thank you. Please join me in thanking Jennifer Overmeyer, Rachel Hutchings, and Frauke Peterson for joining us today. I think they did a magnificent job. Once again, I want to thank Luxa Enterprises, Matrix Force, Security Bank, and Stennett Associates for their support of this series. Anyone who joined us late, either on the webinar portion, or you called in, or you joined via Facebook Live, if you are interested in a copy of this, a copy of the recording of this webinar will be posted on the Chamber's website later today. So I would encourage you to share that with colleagues, associates, or others who might have an interest. Likewise, our next Business Support Series webinar will be this Thursday, May the 14th at 11 a.m. We'll have our own Justin McLaughlin the Chamber's Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, and Jim Morgan, our Senior Vice President of Communications and Vice President of Quality, with us. They'll be discussing how the Chamber has pivoted, a word that both Rachel and Jennifer used today, but how we have pivoted our strategy to address new challenges that have been brought on by this pandemic and the resulting economic crisis. Finally, tomorrow, we'll host United States Senator Jim Inhofe for a virtual congressional forum at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. tomorrow. Attendance is free, but advanced registration is required. You can register for both of these Wednesday and Thursday virtual events on tulsachamber.com/events. In the meantime, please do not hesitate to reach out to any members of our Chamber staff team or to me personally if we can be of any assistance to you or your employees at all as we begin to reopen this economy and begin to transition in a safe fashion to get our employees back to work, get this economy restarted. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. And once again, a special thank you to our 4 outstanding sponsors. Thank you so much. And again, thanks to our guests today. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day and a great week.